Alright, so UFC 310 is just around the corner, so I've decided to break down a couple of the fights, the key fights that I think are division changing. But one I hear talked about a lot, I kind of get why, but it's Kai Asakura versus Alexander Pantoja. Now, I like Pantoja. I'm just going to say that. I don't mind Pantoja as a fighter. Some people think he's boring, nut hugger, whatever, because of the Steve Erceg fight. But the narrative was going into the Steve Erceg fight that Steve Erceg might win and all this other stuff. And a lot of people are hating on Pantoja because they're Guru fans, eh? That's what I'm seeing. Now, personally, I do think Pantoja clearly won 3-2. I thought it was pretty easy, 3-2 Pantoja. But I guess if you're an MMA Guru fan, you're thinking Pantoja robbed Steve Erceg. Sure. But, I'll respect your opinion and I'll humor it for now. However, we do know where Steve Erceg stands now. So I think, if you rewatch that Steve Erceg-Pantoja fight, you might change your mind. But regardless, Pantoja just recently beat Steve Erceg. I believe he's 2-0 against Brandon Royval, or he's 3-0. I think it's 2-0, and he's 3-0 against Brandon Moreno. Or vice versa, I can't remember. He's literally beat these guys both collectively 5 times. Now, the reason why I mention this is because everyone's talking about how if Kai Asakura wins, it's the only way to save Flyweight. It makes Flyweight more interesting. Stuff like that. Now, here's what I ask you. Does it? If Kai Asakura wins, who's getting the next title shot? You know it's not Amir Albazi. He just got his ass whooped by Brandon Moreno, and now Amir Albazi officially looks like a fraud, especially because he lost to Kai Kara France, but won on the scorecard somehow. Regardless, Amir Albazi, he's not making it to the title shot. Tatsuro Taira needs more time to cook. Let him in the kitchen a little bit. Alex Perez just fraud-checked Nicolau. Ugh, don't get me wrong, there's a problem at Flyweight, but it's not Pantoja. Pantoja being the champion is just because Pantoja is a really good Flyweight. Arguably, Mighty Mouse still beats him right now, currently, if they were to fight, but, listen, I'm a Pantoja fan. I don't mind Kai Asakura. No racism towards Japan. I watch anime from time to time. Don't mean to toot my own horn. Showcase the culture. But regardless, Pantoja is just good. And because Pantoja is just good, he's going to remain the champion. I predict Pantoja easily beats Kai Asakura. A lot of people want Kai Asakura to win. I get why a lot of people look at his record and are like, oh my god, look at all the KOs. Wow, it's crazy, But Pantoja's got some KOs, to be fair, guys. But the problem with Kai Asakura is that he's not nearly as active. He's taking 2 years off after a loss. I get it, right? But if you do that in the UFC, you're going to be 33 years old. And then if you lose again, 35. You know what I mean? It's kind of not a great habit I'm seeing already. He's 5'8", which is pretty big for the division. Because Pantoja's only 5'5". The problem, though, is that he's never made Flyweight once in his entire career. This is his first time making Flyweight. He says there's not going to be complications. I doubt it. And while he does have heat in his hands for Bantamweight, is which weight class he's fighting at, he's fighting bums, and he's losing to good comp. That's kind of the problem. He did just lose 3 years ago. We can't just sweep that under the rug, He did just lose 3 years ago. Almost 3 years ago. It's not even fully been 3 years. That's kind of the problem I'm seeing here. On top of that, he had his other loss where he's getting finished 4 years ago, And then Manel Cap 5 yees ago was able to smoke this guy. And when I say smoke this guy, I mean he literally got flatlined. It's not good. Seeing broken jaw. I mean, he initiated that broken jaw. Never mind. Ignore what I just said. But regardless, the problem is that he does lose. He is not active. 2-year gap. Fighting. Okay, good. Okay, well, now he's just kind of taking his time, I think is the problem. Point is, Kai Asakura's not that good. Is he okay on the feet because he's getting a lot of KOs to bums? Yeah, sure. But he's not fighting UFC level comp. What happens when you bring a prospect that hasn't fought UFC comp to the top of the division? Well, you got Steve Erceg, and you can admit it's a close fight. He gets smoked by Alex Perez. Ugh! Sorry, not Alex Perez. My bad. Kai Kara France. My bad. Wrong guy. I'm thinking of Alex Perez Nicolau. My bad. Regardless, he gets smoked by Kai Kara France. Ugh! You know what I mean? Yeah, I just don't like that. And he loses to the champion decisively, in my opinion. Regardless. Tatsuro Taira, the most promising flyweight prospect we have. He fights Brandon Royval too early, man, and I called it. If you're looking for picks, by the way, I picked Brandon Royval to absolutely out-scramble the fuck out of Tatsuro Taira here. Just saying, if you're looking for picks, I might be your guy. Just saying. Anyways, also Mobaya kind of looks promising. He hasn't really had a tough test yet. Amir Albazi just got fraud checked. Kai Kara France maybe, but the problem is, does Pantoja actually have a... no, he hasn't. He actually hasn't fought Kai Asakura yet. Interesting. Or, Kai Kara France yet. You could have Kai versus Kai, I guess. But here's my point. The problem in flyweight is not the fact that Pantoja is champion. Now, I know a lot of people are calling him a nut hugger, grapple heavy, whatever the fuck. He's still a decent striker, and he's still a pretty good grappler, you know? A really good grappler. He's got some of the most dominant grappling, I think, in the division, period. You know? Even probably better than Tatsuro Taira, arguably, because Tatsuro Taira couldn't keep his grappling going with Brandon Royval. You know? So I think that proves that Pantoja's got enough on the feet to last, especially with the Ursag fight under his belt. He whooped Brandon Moreno, and I think it was kind of 50-50 with the grappling striking. I might be wrong on that, but it's hard to remember. Brandon Moreno just smoked Amir Albazi, is what it is. The problem with flyweight is the Royal Guard. Now, the Brandons are just too fucking good at flyweight. We need them out. Try to convince Brandon Moreno to move up, fight Henry Cejudo for whatever reason. Just get him out of the division for now. Sneak in a Kai Kara France #1 contender. You know, sneak in Asu Almabayev after beating Amir Albazi. Or maybe even Royval, possibly, if that happens. I wouldn't pick him in that, but maybe. You know, you gotta sneak these up-and-comers that are beating high-level comp and get them to the top, like a Kai Kara France. He did whoop Amir Albazi. He kind of got robbed in that decision, in my opinion. Does he beat Pantoja? Probably not, but at least it would be interesting. It's something new, you know? The problem really is this old guard. We have had Kai Kara France around for quite a while now. We've had the Brandons in number 1, 2, and 3 for the past, like, 3-4 fucking years. These guys just won't leave the fucking top 3, it seems like. You know, we're getting some young blood, but when Alex Perez is fraud-checking Nicolau, that's the problem. We have too many Alex Perez's, you know? Matt Chanel's still fucking ranked, you know? Cody Durden could make his way up, but he's kind of getting older. You know, Pantoja is getting up there in age, but he's not that old. You know, he's almost 35, but he's not that old. He's got a really good chin, all things considered. His last loss was to a decision, and he decisioned Figueiredo during a time where Figueiredo's a fucking killer. Has he ever been knocked out? He's never been knocked out. Oh my god, he's never been knocked out. I didn't even know that. So, if you want to say he's chinny, never been knocked out. Has he been rocked a few times? Maybe, but it's kind of hard to tell because he does have just one of those non-stop pressure fighters. And Kai Asakura sucks. He kind of does. He's beating the comp he's supposed to beat. Hey, you know who else did that? You know who else beat the comp he was supposed to beat? Steve Ursag. But he had UFC level competition. Kai Asakura had UFC level competition. He got knocked out. I know this is a rematch. I know he beat Manel Cap the first time, even though it was a split decision. Some people argue Manel Cap won that. My point is, Kai Asakura is not UFC level. I get why he's getting the title shot. He's popular in Ryzen. He's popular in Japan. Push him up because the Japan pusher, I guess, in Tatsuro Taira just got kind of fraud checked. So, A, throw another Japan man in there. Get him in a #1 contender's bout. Push out Matt Chanel because he will be somewhere in the rankings. But Kai Asakura is just not it, man. He's not what's going to save flyweight. You know, does he make it interesting because of his knockouts? Sure. But his knockouts are typically grounded opponents with knees, soccer kicks to the head, stomps. Like, this is the problem. You know, he's not in the UFC. He's not used to the UFC. He's not used to how big the UFC is. right? I get it, why he's coming. I'm completely fine with this. I just don't like this narrative that Pantoja needs to lose in order for the division to be saved. Guys, Pantoja will still just run in front of punches and just keep on throwing. He's not just only going to grapple. He kind of uses his grappling when he's against high-level comp, but when he's against low-level comp, he's fucking dominating them, you know? He submitted, what's his name? Alex Perez. He passed that fraud checker. You know, he's submitting Brandon Royval. We don't see that anymore. You know, even though that was kind of recent, almost 3 years ago. Like, this is what we're seeing. This is what I like to see. He's knocking out the Matt Chanels. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting past. He is just fighting constantly UFC opponents. I think that's the biggest difference. That's why I'm obviously picking Alex Pantoja. I even put him in my early predictions. But regardless, he's not what saves the division. What saves Flyweight is flushing out all these old heads. You know? And I know the Brandons aren't old, but we need people to take them out. Then we worry about who's champion. Or Pantoja just gets old. That's kind of the only way I see the Flyweight getting interesting. Because let's say Kai Asakura wins. Guess who Kai Asakura is fighting for the next 3-4 years? These three will be the next fights for the 3 or 4 years. It'll be Brandon Royval, because he's #1 contender, and he's fresh blood. Brandon Royval, let's just say he loses. Then we're going to see Brandon Moreno again for like his 9th time. Wow. Let's say Brandon Moreno loses, and Alexander Pantoja's probably done enough to get a belt. He probably still whoops Amir Albazi. He probably beats Kai Kara France by getting the back, getting a submission. He probably beats Tatsuro Taira if Brandon Royval is able to out-grapple Tatsuro Taira, or anti-grapple, I should say. Not really out-grappling, it's just preventing the grappling from happening, I guess. He beats an Alex Perez. We've seen it, you know? He probably beat Osuo Mabayev. Like, this is the problem. The flyweight champion is just really fucking good. Pantoja's not the problem. I think it is just the gatekeepers in flyweight, you know? If Alex Perez is your fucking gatekeeper, you have a problem in the division. You need higher level comp in that division. And I know it's hard to get them, you know? And I know we just cut Makayev, a guy who's never lost, but he's not the guy either. We need someone to come in flyweight who's a finisher, entertaining, or at least skilled, you know? Because the problem is that flyweights are just high level. You know, a lot of the unranked flyweights just don't beat Tim Elliott. That's just the sad truth. Anyways, with all that being said, I daily upload, I daily stream. If you want to come around, ask me questions, give my thoughts on picks and shit. Just saying. Anyways, with all that being said, thank you for watching. As always, I hope you have a good day.